You are watching Criticom Link, back here today with another video. So exactly 1 year ago today, on June 18th, 2018, Jassa Onfroy, better known by the name XXXTentacion, was gunned down and killed in Deerfield Park, Florida. He was only 20 years old at the time, and he was considered to be a rising star within the hip-hop music industry, and his death is considered to have left a musical footprint behind on his young fan base and on the hip-hop and on the music industry itself. This is all in lieu of massive controversy that was surrounding him at the time, including an ongoing trial where his ex-girlfriend was taking him to trial for putting her through a living hell for 6 months between May 2016 and October 2016. So immediately after he died, people mourned him all over the internet. His face was plastered all over shirts and merchandise and memorabilia and graffiti and murals and people lining the streets and whatnot, all in remembrance of who they being Generation Z, my generation, would say is one of the greatest artists of our time. I happen to feel differently about the whole thing. I think this whole debacle puts into perspective just exactly what the world has turned into and what it has become this past 20 years, and just how it isn't really a good sign of where this world will be in about 50 years or so, you could say. So what do I mean by this? So before I go on, I just want to say that it's easy to look at this type of video as an attack on your values. It's easy to think of me as trying to attack your favorite artist and tell you, you know, he's bad, don't listen to his music. And I mean, I'm not on here to tell you not to listen to XXXTentacion's music. It's fine if you do. I don't like his music anyway. I mean, his music is no different than any other tatted up mumble rapper that exists on the planet, but that doesn't matter. That's not the point that I'm making here. I'm on here to bring forward to you evidence as to why I think it is wrong that so many people mourn for him, and why people call him an icon of this generation and whatnot. A lot of you put forward the argument that, I mean, sure, XXXTentacion was not a saint, he was not a good person, but he was making music as a way to help people heal, as a way where everyone could share in his suffering, and that way we could all learn from it and relate to it and embellish in the entire experience. That's fine and all if that's what you think, but I feel the problem is so many of you out there just willingly ignore the things he did as a person, or moreover who XXXTentacion was as a person, and put forward the argument that it's like, oh, he made great music, so it's like, you know, that doesn't really matter. And this is all despite XXXTentacion being a known homophobe, convicted felon, abuser, and straight up all-around complete asshole. And I realize that there are some of you out there that are perfectly aware that XXXTentacion was a horrible person, but I mean, you just like his music anyway. That's fine. This video isn't really targeted toward you so much. It's targeted towards the people that love his music, but willingly or unwillingly ignore all of the other evidence out there that otherwise contradicts how awful of a person he was and how kind of a fraud he was in his musical scheme. Specifically, I point to one thing. So I mentioned earlier that XXXTentacion hooked up with a girl in May 2016, and their relationship lasted until October 2016. This relationship was anything but that, on the other hand, and he in fact put this woman through an absolute, complete, total, non-stop, excruciating, living hell for the entirety that they were dating. I specifically point to this article by Pitchfork. This article puts into light what a sick, sadistic, inhumane scumbag XXXTentacion was, and I'm willing to bet the majority of you out there have not even read this article. This article summarizes the entire course of events that X and his girlfriend were dating over the course of 6 months, and it summarizes everything he did to her, right down to all those disturbing nitty-gritty details. But I'm gonna go over one bullet point from this list, and after I'm done, and after you're done watching this video, I want you, especially if you're a fan of XXXTentacion and you have not read this article, then I want you to go read this entire article for yourself, because I read it for myself, and I'm not even exaggerating here. This article made me sick to my stomach. In early October 2016, she, the girlfriend, found out that she was pregnant by XXXTentacion. The pregnancy was planned by both of them. On the afternoon of October 6, 2016, he told her to move from the bed they were lying on. He then went onto the balcony where she could still hear him and called up the person she had slept with while XXXTentacion was in jail because of an unrelated crime, demanding to know everything. When XXXTentacion returned inside, he told her, "You need to tell me the truth right now or I'll kill you and this jit." She said that Jit was slain for the unborn child, which it is. He then started elbowing, headbutting, and punching her. He strangled her until she almost passed out. He took her to the bathroom and demanded one last time that she tell him everything or he would kill her in the bathtub. She couldn't even recognize her face in the mirror. It looked distorted, and her left eye was completely shut and leaking blood. She was losing vision. She vomited. This guy assaulted and beat up his own girlfriend while she was pregnant with his own freaking child. What more do you need to know about this guy? But I mean, that was just one thing. And there were some other things on this list that I could not even go over because it's probably too much for YouTube and this video would get taken down. I will leave a link to this article in the description below, and immediately after you're done watching this video, I want you to go read the entire thing in full and do more research and do more digging into what kind of person XXXTentacion was before you go calling him the greatest artist of our generation. And I feel that's just what so many of my generation does. They may say, yeah, sure, he wasn't a saint, yeah, he was a bad person, but you know what? He was trying to heal, and he created music to help all of us embellish in that same experience. The problem with that argument, though, is this guy did not care about anyone but himself. In fact, he was known when he was at concerts, he was known to assault his fans that even slightly touched him. You know, that's the kind of thing fans expect to do at a concert if you kind of get close to them while you're singing. But he was known to get in lots of fights with his own fans. And most likely, if you went up to him and told him how big of an inspiration he was to you, he would likely spit on you. This guy was a no-good, self-absorbed asshole who did not care about any of you. The whole entire thing with his music, I believe, was just a front. It was all just smoke and mirrors to make it harder for the courts to prosecute him. And if you think that's total bullshit, then just look at the bigger picture here. I mean, his ex-girlfriend had just accused him of doing all of this shit to her, so then, you know, he's about to probably go to jail for maybe the rest of his life. So what does he do? He starts making music, and then this guy gets literally an entire generation behind his back who are all screaming out and protesting and, you know, crying outrage over social media that this woman was just lying, that everyone's just trying to get him in trouble and put him behind bars. And then, of course, that would make it harder for the courts to prosecute him. If not for an entire plethora of young fans behind his back, then he would probably be rotting in jail right now, at this as I speak. And I haven't mentioned that there was this audio tape that surfaced that has XXXTentacion admitting to the entire thing, to just about everything that he did to his girlfriend. He was caught on tape admitting to the whole thing. And I stress to you, he did not know he was being recorded. It's not been disclosed who recorded him, but later in the list you'll find out that X took his girlfriend and a couple of other buddies to one of his houses, and he kept her locked up inside a room where she was not allowed to leave. It all points to one of them recording him on tape without him knowing, because they knew that what X was doing to this poor woman was wrong and something needed to be done about it, and that when they went to the police, they would have legitimate evidence in the form of X admitting to the entire thing. The guy was smart, I'll give him that, because he was able to get almost an entire generation on his side so as to make it harder for the courts to prosecute him. So the guy webbed this complex scheme together, and then he got killed. You may say that I'm just overreaching here, but just look at the evidence. Look at the facts. Look at what I had just brought up moments ago, and then just think about that for a minute. I mean, XXXTentacion did not care about any of you. For all of the people out there that say he cared about his fans and he was just trying to help them heal, that's bullshit. And if that's what you think, then you're just lying to yourself. And this isn't even going over one other crucial aspect that I believe puts this entire debacle into light and really puts into perspective what is wrong with this generation and paints a, quite honestly, scary picture of what the world will look like many years from now. So 4 days after XXXTentacion died, Vinnie Paul, the former drummer of Pantera, died of a disease on June 22nd at the age of 54. You didn't hear anyone mourning for Vinnie Paul when he died. You didn't hear anyone crying for him or lining the streets or his face being plastered all over merchandise or whatnot. I mean, nobody seemed to really care when he died. But despite that, Vinnie Paul was actually known for being a good, humane person. He was known for just kind of being just kind of a sweetheart, really. Yeah, sure, he made that kind of hard-hitting heavy metal music back in, you know, his heyday back in the 80s and 90s with Pantera, but he was known for being an all-around good guy, and he unfortunately had his life taken away from him too early on from a terrible disease. But when X died, who was a known homophobe, convicted felon, abuser, and all-around total complete scumbag who didn't give a shit about anyone but himself, everybody mourned for him. I mean, everyone cried for him. Everyone was like, oh, rip X, rip X, rip X. People were, I mean, there was the whole challenge where in memoriam of X, people would draw a black X on their hand or whatnot. I mean, this is such a glaring discrepancy that I've even brought this up with some other people I know that are fans of XXXTentacion. I've said it the same very exact way I just said it, and they couldn't offer an explanation for it. So even the people who mourn for X can't offer an explanation for this glaring discrepancy. And I just think that paints an ugly picture of our entire generation and quite honestly a scary picture of what this world has come to and where it's going. I think it's wrong how people memorialize him when they don't even consider what a god-awful person X was when he wasn't recording music. I mean, that's my take on this entire thing. What is I would love to know your take. I mean, whatever your thoughts, whatever your opinions, I would love to hear them. Be sure to follow me on social media. I recommend Twitter the most because on Twitter, not only do I post all of the videos that I upload here onto YouTube, but I also post updates about future videos. So be sure to follow me on Twitter. So thank you all for watching, and thank you all for listening to my take on this entire thing. It means a lot to me. So if you haven't subscribed already, do subscribe, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace!